The whole world is reacting to Netflix acquisition of Warner Bros. Discovery for an alleged $82.7 billion. And what is interesting about it is Netflix doesn't own anything yet. There is a lot of hurdles they have to get through. There is an agreement in place, but that does not really mean anything until the regulators have actually confirmed the sale of Warner Bros. Discovery. Why do you think there is a $5 to $6 billion breakup fee that Netflix will have to pay if the regulators and the Justice Department of America, the FTC, do not allow the sale of Warner Bros. Discovery to Netflix? Because it's essentially creating a monopoly. Because you have Netflix, the #1 streamer in the world. You have HBO Max, which is a smaller one. But you put them together, and Netflix already kind of has a monopoly on the streaming. So is it really going to go through? I don't know. I find it fascinating how you've got all the James Gunn stands all hyped. Yet y'all don't like Netflix. Y'all hyped because he's had his contract renewed for a year, which is kind of ironic, seeing as that means the contract will run out at the end of 2027, a few short months after Man of Tomorrow would come out. So you've got our y'all James Gunn stands hyping like you've won something, and because Warner Bros. Discovery overview is allegedly you think Netflix is going to keep DC Studios separate, film and TV studios separate. Warner Bros. And DC Studios are going to operate exactly like they do now. And because they highlighted two of the most popular franchises of all time was Harry Potter, an IP that hasn't had a movie in over 10 years. And you highlight Superman, which, I mean, when Zack Snyder left DC, there's literally been no successful DC movie for a very long time. But you decide to pick Superman. And then you look at the list of TV productions. Game of Thrones, again, highly successful, but it's a very old one, to be honest. So I do find it quite funny because Paramount could still buy. They really could still buy. So David Zaslav talks on James Gunn and Pete Safran running DC after the Netflix merger. Why renew the contract for 1 year then? Why not 4 years? The work of James and Pete, their creative vision, it's compelling, and a great economy return. There's no storytelling content that we have that provides a bigger palette than DC. And there's nobody around right now who can tell the stories with the same imagination and excitement. I feel like this Bloomberg piece is a hit piece because you're basing it all on what if scenarios, James and Pete's visions. I've met both of them, to be honest, but I've spent more time with Pete Safran. I've met him twice. And Pete Safran's more of a horror guy, right? What is Pete Safran doing at DC? He seems to be like the silent partner or the secret girlfriend that you have on the side for the wife. We don't really hear much from him. James Gunn's delivered one movie, Creature Commandos, that did bad, respectfully. Peacemaker Season 2 that did bad. The Suicide Squad movie that lost money. Superman movie that arguably won, maybe lost money, maybe made money. Who knows? It either lost 40 million or it predominantly made 100 million. James Gunn says theatrical releases are incredibly important for DC after the Warner Bros. Merger. Well, we already know they've got contracts up to 2029, so it's kind of irrelevant. The communal theatrical experience is something that is incredibly important and remarkable for our well-suited to our big spectacle films. Now, what is interesting is the head of Netflix basically has said, yeah, we're going to keep the theatrical window the way it is, but really? I mean, they're going to say and do anything they can to get this through the regulators, right? And that's not me stretching. This has nothing to do with Restore the SnyderVerse. Because if you actually read what Netflix has said, they said they're looking at lots of opportunities everywhere Restoring the Snyderverse and finishing Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 3 really could just be dropped onto Netflix, right? Onto Netflix. So, hypothetically, Netflix acquiring Warner Bros. And the DCU turns the page on the future of superhero storytelling, says. This now means creative teams backed by Netflix global budget potentially bloom for DCU Phase 1 and Phase 2. I find this very premature because, again, Netflix does not own anything. James Gunn states, however, he only oversees DCU. Another executive oversees Elseworld. I mean, Netflix leans into nostalgic, a fresh take, additional reboots, and Elseworlds that bend the DCU canon hard. So what I'm hearing here from what Netflix is saying is the SnyderVerse projects, like a Ben Affleck series, could still run. DCU goes big on event drops, simultaneously global premieres on streaming, theatrical window to dominate box office and feeds. Well, let's be honest. I tell you what killed the cinema. It wasn't Netflix. What killed the cinema was Disney Plus. What killed the cinema was Disney Plus. Was popcorn costing you more than a movie experience. So the theatrical window is really only 35 days. It's like 45 weeks. So is the head of Netflix wrong when he says, oh, the theatrical window needs to come down? Who knows? And when we talk about new projects, Netflix CEO highlights Penguin, which has got nothing to do with James Gunn. It's not a DCU project. So outside of one movie, and it happens to be the only DC movie they've released since The Flash that was a train wreck, Netflix CEO Ted offered an early hint at how the company may handle DC content. He didn't mention James Gunn's DCU or any of James Gunn's shows. Interesting, because people think if Peacemaker goes to Netflix, it does well better. It does like so much better. Ted told investors they should think about the ways you can explore all the IPs beyond of just making tentpole movies, pointing to Penguin as a model, right? And model of the Elseworld, because it spins off Batman. Examples would be some of the earlier movies for DC's universe, for things like Penguin, which is a great TV show. No mentions of the DCU, Creature Commandos, Peacemaker, and the Gunn universe. Essentially, what everyone is going on about with James Gunn's contract getting renewed for only a year, that was a fluff piece. It's noticeable admission given Gunn's position at DC's future, but Netflix CEO didn't highlight his work. He highlighted Matt Reeves' work. Let's be honest. Shall we call a spade a spade? So, like I've always said, it looks like, sure, every project that's already in the works will still come out. Because if this goes through, and if Paramount doesn't block it somehow from doing a hostile takeover, this will take through to Q3, meaning the last quarter of 2026, right? So, of course, his contract had to get renewed because Man of Tomorrow doesn't come out till the following year. Make it make sense. So everyone's saying Netflix is won and the SnyderVerse is over. The SnyderVerse was over years ago, lads. I don't really understand what you're on about. Netflix drops random movies on the daily. So you're telling me they won't give a bunch of money to bring out the Affleck show or bring out Zack Snyder's Justice League 2, 3, and continue the series? If enough people ask for it, I mean, they save Lucifer. So it's interesting, right? This whole breakout clause. Now, realistically, David Zaslav, there's reports out there that he's really wanting Paramount to buy him because he wants more money. And David Zaslav could actually work out winning here, because if the $5 billion breakout fee goes back to the company, he takes a big bunch of it. Paramount are not out of the race yet. And it's interesting how the Writing Guild of America forcefully opposed the deal going through. And guess who is the head of that? Christopher Nolan. There is so many hurdles to get through in order for Netflix to buy Warner Bros. Discovery that no idea if it's actually going to go through. There's antitrust laws that were designed to prevent monopolies, because it is essentially a streaming service buying every single IP. Essentially, what it is Netflix now blocks HBO Max from doing anything whilst the sale goes through, because they can't really greenlight anything new during this transactional period, hypothetically speaking, if said deal goes through. And this has nothing to do with the SnyderVerse not getting restored, because we don't know what's going to happen. The plan is to explore lots of different stuff with the DC IPs. So even outside of the DCU, like I've always said, I want all the DC. I want more Matt Reeves stuff. I want more Snyder stuff. I want more James Gunn stuff. So realistically, we're having all these commentators coming out telling us, yeah, James Gunn's safe. If he's safe, why have they only renewed the contract for 1 year? That's a bit shady. They've renewed the contract for 1 year. So the FCC will block the merger, or the FTC, whichever way around I think it is. But either way, there's so many hurdles to go through. Everyone talking like it's a done deal is, you're being a bit cynical. You're being a bit cynical. Yeah, you really are being a bit cynical. I know everyone wants the DCU to continue. And like I've always said, everything that's already in production and pre-production is still going to be done. They won't be able to do anything new to early to late 2027 either way. So James Gunn, yes, is staying around for a little bit further. But I've never heard of a studio head only getting an extra year on the contract after the initial contract was only 4 years. The problem here is the whole Netflix wants to shorten the theatrical window, which is only 35 days. And Warner Bros. Have done day-and-day release with Godzilla versus Kong back in the day with Mortal Kombat. So Warner Bros. Are no better in this scenario. Everyone's saying Netflix killed cinema. Disney Plus killed cinema. Y'all killed the cinema by not going to the cinema. And most people that are angry about Netflix actually potentially, because it's only potentially buying Warner Bros., you don't even go to the cinema. The amount of people are uproaring about this, y'all don't even go to the cinema because you only go and watch Marvel DC movies, which is literally the smallest percentage of movies that are released. It's like the horror genre has more movies than Marvel and DC combined on a yearly basis. It does make me laugh, lads, how y'all going, no, there's no SnyderVerse, the DCU saved. No one has any idea what's going on here. We really don't. Because now reports are coming out saying Warner Bros. Discovery is more likely getting closer to 6 billion. Why are they so concerned about how much money they're getting if this deal doesn't go through? Paramount is not out of the race yet. No one's out of the race because there's 100 hurdles it's got to go through. But to extend a contract 1 year, it's safe to say Netflix winning the bid to buy Warner Bros. Discovery blindsided everybody. I said 5 years ago, back in 2020, if Netflix wanted to buy, they would. They really would. But to renew James and Pete's contract to 2027 is very weird. It really, and there are reports out there saying, I'm being told they did get a 6-month extension, but insiders said the notable part is what they didn't get. The kind of long-term deal. Why did Michael DeLuca and Pam Abdi get contract renewals for 4 years? Yet James Gunn, if DC's so important to Netflix, why are you only getting an extra year? It is baffling, lads. So realistically, there is nothing new, no new information. The plans have not changed at all. It's a fluff piece that James Gunn put out. Interesting how the head of Netflix is talking about Penguin, but he didn't say anything about Peacemaker or Creature Commandos, did he? No, but allegedly they loved him. It blows my mind because the head of Netflix kind of, if it is to go through hypothetically speaking, they've got to really say stuff that's probably not true and will only be short term because the regulators are going to question a hell of a lot of things because this is going to create a monopoly, and Netflix basically already have the monopoly when it comes to streaming. So blows my mind. Can the SnyderVerse still be restored? Yes, because it doesn't need to reboot the universe. It just needs to continue. It's continuing the story. It's not even really restoring the SnyderVerse. It's finishing a story which can be done. Again, Netflix head, CEO, says Barbie and Oppenheimer would have banged big on Netflix. There's no reason to believe that the movie itself is better in any size of screen for all people. My son's an editor. He watched Lawrence of Arabic on his phone. Yeah, the cinema is dead, basically. So I agree with what he's saying. Personally, the Warstu loves the cinema. But realistically, Netflix have had some pretty cool movies and TV series that were fine to watch on whatever size screen you've got anyway. So lads, stop telling me the DCU is a long-term plan, because we've got no idea what's going to happen. All this fluff piece articles coming out the last few days means absolutely nothing. Anyway, I'll catch you in another video, guys, very soon. Catch you later.